Hello, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going over another iceberg. We're going over the Disturbing Cartoons iceberg, and this one was actually sent to me by someone on Discord who is also in my Discord server, so join my Discord server if you have anything that you want me to make a video on. But thank you very much for the person who made this. And also, just quickly before the video starts, a lot of these in here I wouldn't say are disturbing. It's mainly sort of kids cartoons which have dark undertones, which is a very sort of interesting concept. It's not just like horror cartoons and things like that. Also, on the disturbing movie iceberg, because I am starting for next video the guinea pig series and the American guinea pig series, it's gonna come out a bit later, as there's 6 guinea pig films to watch and I think 4 American guinea pig films to watch, so that's 10 extra films for just a separate video. But without further ado, let's get into it. And for the first 2 tiers, I'm not gonna name every single one, as they're like really mainstream cartoons, you know, like things which you just know about, so I just picked about 5 from each tier just so you get the general idea. Tier 1, we have SpongeBob. Obviously, most people here know what SpongeBob is. Next, Kung Fu Panda. It's just about a fighting panda. Scooby-Doo. It's sort of like hunting for ghosts, like a mystery sort of thing. Adventure Time. This is a very good show. I like this one. I used to watch this. And this is about like Finn and Jake, and they go on adventures together. But I suppose this is where it kind of gets into the, I wouldn't say disturbing, but more away from a kid's cartoon. Because I think towards the end, Adventure Time focused a lot more on lore than it did making a children's cartoon, which was really cool. And the last one I'm going to mention for tier 1 is Tom and Jerry, and this is just a cartoon which has been going on for decades about a cat and a mouse. Tier 2, we have Naruto, which is a good anime. A lot of people diss it because it has a lot of fillers, but you can just skip those, and it is quite a good anime. Next we have Family Guy, and I think it's just a UK thing, but I don't think I've met a single person from the UK that actually likes Family Guy, so I've just called it The Simpsons but bad. Next we have Futurama, and this is just The Simpsons but in space. And next we have Itchy and Scratchy, which is a show which is in The Simpsons. And this is where it kind of gets more, I guess, dark, because Itchy and Scratchy is like Tom and Jerry, but like extreme violence. They're always like killing each other, basically. Next we have tier 3, and this is where I'm actually going to do all of them. So first off, we have South Park. And this is sort of, I guess it does have quite a bit of disturbing content to it, such as the episode where Cartman makes someone eat their parents in a chili. Which is, I think, Scott Tenorman Must Die. That's the name of the episode. But yeah, South Park is sort of notorious for being offensive, but I still enjoy it because it's just jokes. Next we have Black Butler, which is an anime with, I guess, some violence. It's been ages since I've watched it, about 5 years, but I don't remember it being that disturbing, but maybe in the second season, because I didn't actually get around to watching that one. Next we have Boogie Pop Phantom, and I have not watched this one, but it is a psychological horror anime, and it looks quite good, so I didn't really want to spoil this for myself, because I'm probably going to watch it. Next we have Tortured Souls, and I'm assuming that the person who made this is referring to Corpse Party, the anime, the 4-episode one. And this is one of my favourite horror anime, like, ever. I don't know why, but I just love all the effects and the gore, everything. The horror is very, very good, and I highly recommend it. Next, we got Man Wonderland, and this is another one which I saw about 4 years ago. And from what I can remember, it was pretty good at the start. It had a very good concept, but then at the end, it just wasn't as good. But it's basically about, like, a person who can control their blood. And at the start, he gets framed for the murder of his entire class and gets sent to like a criminal place. But yeah, pretty good anime from what I remember. Next we have Death Note, and this is I think the first or second anime which I watched. But it's a very good sort of psychological one, and it's about a book which can kill people. And because it's one of like the most highly rated anime, a lot of people just like don't bother because they think it's overrated. But it is very good, and it's also what got me into manga. Because I watched the anime and then I was like, I want to read the manga. So I did, and that got me into manga, and then yeah, I got into horror through manga really, so that's what got me into all this. Next we have another, and this is another one which I watched about 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. This was when I was going through like my anime phase in secondary school, and I just watched everything. But it's from what I remember, it's basically sort of like Final Destination, as in death is after people, and it has some pretty cool deaths. And next we have Devilman Crybaby, and I have not seen this one. It's on Netflix, but I never got around to watching it. And from what I read, it's about a devil who is also human who fights devils. Sort of the devil with a soul of a human, if I remember that correctly. But yeah, this has been recommended to me, but I never really got around to watching it. And next we have Elfin Lyde, and I watched the first episode of this about 4 or 5 years ago, and I had no idea what was going on. But I since got around to rewatching it in the last year or two, and I enjoyed it more because I was more into sort of psychological horrors and things like that. But it's basically about like a sort of like a test subject or an alien that can just has like supernatural powers and gets washed up on the beach with amnesia. But the gore, there's a lot of gore in it. Like I'm pretty sure she makes people's heads explode, if I remember this correctly, and it shows it. But yeah, pretty good. Next one is called From the New World, and I haven't seen this one, but from what I've read, it seems to be about a psychic gang who go after child kidnappers, so it sounds quite cool. Next we have Gantz, and this is about people in the afterlife getting sort of like powers and going after aliens, from what I read. And it sounds really cool, so this is another one which is going on my list. Next is Ghost Hunt, and this is just sort of the adventures of a psychic research company as they investigate mysterious occurrences all over Japan. So it's kind of like Scooby-Doo, but anime. Next we have Noki, I think it's pronounced, and this is about sort of there's evil spirits all over Japan, and only one person has the power to kill them, so he's going around killing all the evil spirits. Next we have Ghost Stories, and this is about grade school students fighting against supernatural forces. And that's all I could really find on this one, just that sentence. Next we have The Flowers of Evil, and this seems sort of like a drama. It didn't really seem like a horror from what I read. But apparently the anime isn't that good. The manga or the light novel, whatever it was based off, is better. And I looked at the trailer, and the animation wasn't that good. It wasn't berserk bad, but it was still quite bad. Next is Hellgirl, and this is another one which I'm adding to my list of things to watch. And this is about a website where you can make a deal with the devil to get something, and the only sort of thing which happens to you is that you get sent to hell when you die, no matter what. And yeah, it seems like quite a cool concept, and I'll definitely give it a go. Next is Helsing, and this is just the basic Helsing story, so fighting with werewolves, vampires, things like that. Next is Mushishi, and this is a supernatural anime about people with powers, from what I could gather. There wasn't really much on the plot, because if you go on Wikipedia pages, sometimes it gives you the plot of the whole anime, and it's about 10 pages long. Sometimes it will give you the plot, like just a basic summary. So that's what I gathered from skim reading. Next we have Paranoia Agent, and this was one which I have heard of, but I've never got around to watching it. And it's about sort of strange occurrences over Japan of a boy with rollerblades and a baseball bat that goes around assaulting people, and it's about sort of catching him, finding out who he is. Next we have School Days, and I think I might have got this wrong, because from what I looked at, it just looked like a slice of life. So I might have got the wrong anime from this. And before I end this tier, I have two to add to it, which I think should have been on here. First one is Death Parade. This is about, there's people in the afterlife, basically, and they give you sort of a game to play, and they judge you on that, whether or not you should go to heaven or hell. It's a really cool concept, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. And the other one is School Live, and School Live is sort of a psychological horror that disguises itself as a slice of life. It's really hard to explain without spoiling it, but I highly recommend watching it if you haven't and you're into like anime, psychological horrors, things like that. School Live, very, very good. Okay, and moving on to tier 4. First we have Japan Sinks, and this is a new anime, and it is about an ordinary family that is put to the test as a series of massive earthquakes throw Japan into total mayhem. Just as a fun fact, this has the same director as Devilman Crybaby and is also available on Netflix. Next we have Watership Down, and this is probably one of the most famous, I guess, kids cartoons that isn't really a kids cartoon. And it's known for sort of so the imagery that it shows in that animation, but basic plot is it's about rabbits being hunted. Next is the Junji Ito Collection, and I'm doing a video on this, as some people may know, so I'm not really going to speak too much about it, as I'm going to go in depth in that video comparing every single, I think there's 24, so all 24 short stories to the anime. But yeah, the anime isn't too good. So there's some like decent adaptations, but the manga definitely did it better. Next we have Dumbo, and the only reason I could find why this one would be on here is because all of the circus laborers are African American, and that is the only time that blacks are seen in any great number in the entire movie. This is a quote I found. I think in 2011 this was said. But yeah, that definitely brings a very sort of dark perspective onto Dumbo, if you think of it like that. Next, we have All Dogs Go to Heaven, and this is sort of another kids movie that just has like a very disturbing story or scene. And what I could see in this one is dogs escape the pound, and then he gets killed in a car accident. A dog, in a kids film. They couldn't have him like, I don't know, something maybe a bit less insane. But basically, it's about he gets a watch or something, and then he returns back to the normal world. But if the watch stops ticking, he goes to hell, I think. Not quite sure about this one. Haven't seen it, and I hadn't heard of it before this. Next, we have The Secret of Nim, and this is about a mouse that needs to save her family as it's ploughing season, and they live in someone's garden, obviously. But the thing which I found that was quite, I don't want to say disturbing, but just out of place for a kids movie is that one of her sons gets pneumonia and must stay inside for 3 weeks. Like, that's such an odd thing just to drop in a kids movie. But apart from that, I think it's just a normal kids movie. Next is The Promised Neverlands. And this is one which has been on my list for so long because it sounds so good, but I haven't got around to watching it for some reason. Basically, it's about orphans, but when they're sent to be like adopted, in big quotation marks, they find out that they're actually just being used as food for demons. I think that's what. That's as much as I really wanted to read because I don't want any spoilers. But yes, this sounds very cool, and I will be watching. Next is Sunkria, I think it's pronounced, and it's about a boy who's obsessed with zombies. His cat died, so he makes a potion to resurrect it as a zombie. But his friend drinks it instead, causing her to die and then be reborn as his new zombie girlfriend. Next is The Brave Little Toaster, and this is one of the, I guess, infamous films that you always see on the lists of, like, most disturbing children's cartoons and things like that. But from what I read, there's a lot of sort of scary imagery in the film, as well as a scene where one of the characters tries to kill itself, apparently, from what I read. Next we have Oliver and Company, and this is a kids film with some pretty bad deaths for a kids film, including 2 people getting electrocuted on a train tracks, and one of them is squashed between a car and a train. So that's quite odd. Quite an odd death to have in a kids film. Next we have the Care Bears movie, and I think this was just sort of controversial because of the target audience was like very young kids, and it had some quite disturbing imagery for them. But apart from that, I couldn't really find much else on it. And lastly, we have The Land Before Time, and this is about dinosaurs on an adventure. It's said that it was kind of like Bambi, but dinosaurs, but it has some dark imagery, but apparently the editing really saved this from being even darker, as the original ending was cut completely. 10 minutes of the film was cut, and the ending was apparently a lot darker. However, I couldn't find what the original ending actually was, just that it was bad. And now we have game end of Felix the cat. And this is about a cat and its lover, and he gets kicked out of his owner's house for mice eating his food, so he goes to live with his girlfriend. He then finds out that they have kittens together, so Felix runs towards the local gasworks, and he game ends himself by intentionally inhaling coal gas. I'm not gonna say the word because my first Iceberg video, the disturbing shock website one, that got taken down for like for you know that stuff, so I'm just going to be very wary on what I say now. Next we have Mickey's Best Friend, and I think this is a creepypasta. I saw it on a creepypasta wiki, but it's still quite cool regardless. Again, I couldn't really find a clear answer or whether or not it was based on something that was kind of true. Anyway, I'm just going to read it. Basically, Mickey's car breaks down and he becomes depressed until he meets someone, and then they become friends that day, and Mickey says it's the first pal that he's ever had. So when the friend has to obviously leave because he can't stay with Mickey forever, Mickey starts begging him, but then when the friend refuses, Mickey knocks him out with a rock. And then in the next scene, the friend is tied up in Mickey's basement, where Mickey then grabs a knife and he does his work off screen. Obviously, after his procedure or whatever, it is revealed that it's actually Pluto. And this is Pluto's origin story or something. Someone that Mickey did like dismembered and turned into a dog, which is quite dark when you think about it. But I think that the main sort of disturbing bits is creepypasta. So next we have the tale of the priest and his workman Balder. And this is about a boss who is a cheapskate like Mr. Krabs. So when someone offers to work for him if he can have meals and hit the boss on the head 3 times, the boss of course agrees because he doesn't have to pay him. He then gets worried because the worker is doing all of the work very well and also is very strong, so he tries to give him impossible tasks, but he still manages to do them. Then obviously the boss is hit 3 times in the head, which causes him to lose his mind, and the final line is, "You shouldn't have gone rushing after cheapness." This one mainly isn't the story. If I looked at like the images, I'm pretty sure it was on the imagery and the characters that were quite disturbing, I guess I would say. Next we have Looney Tunes episodes with Nazi content, and there is so much more than I thought. I was expecting like one or 2 episodes with like Hitler in it or something like that, but no, there were 16 Looney Tune episodes that featured Hitler. So that's kind of something that's very worrying, I guess, especially the fact that they weren't showing him as a bad guy. So yeah, quite strange. Next is Where the Dead Go to Die, and this is on my list for the disturbing movie Iceberg, so I didn't really look at the story because I've seen images from it and it just looks insane and I cannot wait to watch it. However, it is in the next tier of the one which I am right now, so I'll have to wait a little bit before I can watch it. Next we have Swing You Sinners, and this is about a character who tries to steal a chicken but is then chased away to a haunted house filled with ghosts and ghouls until he eventually falls into hell where a skull eats him. And this is again another one of the stories which is disturbing because of the imagery rather than the story. Next we have The Little Pest, and it looked really innocent until I sort of had a read of what the story was actually about. And it's about someone who's trying to get rid of their brother so that they can go fishing. And I was just thinking, oh, this is just like a normal sibling thing, you know, like he obviously doesn't want him there. But then I put emphasis on the word get rid of him. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there was some sort of annotations or some hinting out there he was actually trying to kill his brother. But yeah, that's all I could find on that one. Next we have The Cameraman's Revenge, and this is a really interesting one, and it's a stop motion film that was made with like dead bugs like beetles, cockroaches and things like that. I don't think it has a story, but it's still like a really interesting concept to me that they'd use stop motion with something like that. Next we have, in my opinion, the worst looking one here, and that is Peanut Vendor. And this is a monkey that sings about how he is selling peanuts and how they're only there for a limited time, so he tells everyone to buy them before they go to sleep. And when I went on images, I like physically had like a oh my god moment. Like without trying to sound like cringy or anything, like I generally thought, what the hell is that? What am I looking at? Like, this monkey was terrifying. And lastly, we have Shoju Tabatsuki. I still don't know if I pronounced that right, but I had a review on it in my disturbing movie Iceberg. Yeah, this is quite a bad movie. This is just one of the disturbing scenes which I've written up here. Basically, it's about a girl who gets taken to a circus and she's not treated right. She's abused physically and mentally. And then at one point, she's looking after like these puppies because they're not mean to her. And then someone from the circus finds out, then very violently stomps on them, and it's very gruesome how it's shown us. And then they're cooked into soup or stew or whatever, and then the girl is forced to eat them. That's just one of the scenes in this film. But yeah, a cool fact which I actually learned about this from someone from the comments, I mean, on the disturbing movie video is that only one person animated this, and it took him a number of years because he did everything like drawing frame by frame, which is kind of cool. Anyway, that is everything on this iceberg. Thank you again to the person who sent me this, and this is just more reason why you should join the Discord server if you have anything you want me to make a video on. Links are in the description to my Twitter as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and why not subscribe. But apart from that, hopefully I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky.